Now that Universe Ticket is over and I've been set free, I find myself still wanting so much more from this show. There was so much about it that had so much potential. Unrealized potential. It could have ushered in a new era of trust in survival shows after Mnet destroyed it, but instead it decided to play the same old games to appease the company handling the debut group. If we want to break it down to its bare bones, step 1 would be to remove FNF's influence or explicitly make this a survival show for FNF's new group, aka be transparent about what FNF expect and their influence on the decision making. Instead, it was giving idol school vibes where the company already knew which members it wanted from the beginning and falsified everyone's results to comply with that. Not saying SBS manipulated points illegally, but they very much did do so legally. Recently, former contestant Annie released a documentary-style video of her experience on the show, but since she was eliminated in round 1, she could only reveal as far as that. Some things that stuck out to me is the in-person audition in Korea was actually held at FNF. To me, that confirms that FNF did have a direct hand in choosing the contestants and probably set up their top 15 then, which would explain the heavy bias towards certain contestants, not just their own trainee. If you make it clear from the start that this is FNF trying to get general public feedback on their first group, you can still do a survival show with trainees from all over. You can still do a survival show with 82 contestants, but make sure that you wouldn't mind any of those 82 being in the group. And if 82 is too many, then just reduce the amount. They could have started the show at 41 or 40 the whole time. But we'll go off of the building blocks we were given for the show to see how it could have been handled differently. Who knows, maybe we would all have come out of this show with a generally more positive outlook. In my opinion, stuff that had potential but didn't live up to it was the Road to Prism system, the Revenge Battle, the SBS Awards show, all the songs, but most importantly, the contestants themselves. But before we get into this, a fair warning: if you're expecting this to be a video where I shower praises on certain contestants or drag others, if you think this video is going to be much more than speculative assumptions based on an alternate reality, then this isn't the video for you. You can disagree with my opinions, just don't be awful about it. Oh, and spoilers for SBS's Universe Ticket, I guess. So first I think we should go through the actual Universe Ticket show, and then we can get into what we should change structurally. I'm going to base this off of Annie's video to some extent. I also want to give another disclaimer before anyone goes in about me complaining. Yeah, okay, and that's kind of the point. You have to have complaints in order to think there's something worth fixing. This is just me putting all of those complaints into one video so we all know what problems I'm gonna be fixing. It's called context. Anyways, in March we get the first announcement of the show, and auditions are from March 2nd until May 14th, 2023. Successful applicants were notified from June 1st to 10th whether they had been accepted. In order to entice global K-pop fans to apply, they released a series of videos from debuted artists promoting the auditions in April, starting with Billy, Dreamcatcher, and 21 Sandara Park getting 2 separate teasers, one for Korea and one for the Philippines. Somehow they got aespa along with Secret Number, Purple Kiss, and Everglow also recording videos, and Secret Number's Dita released a special video targeted to Indonesian fans, so between that and Sandara's Philippines video, it's obvious the show wanted a global scale of contestants and particularly wanted to dip into the idol potential of underrepresented Southeast Asian countries. This was also kind of confirmed when Vanessa showed herself unboxing Secret Number / Dita merch. According to Annie's video, she was called into an in-person audition at FNF on May 7th. After passing the audition, the staff told her to start preparing an 84-second long solo live performance with dance. She also said that the show advised her to change the dance break, which could only mean the show had some influence over the one-on-one performances. Here's where things start to get a little messy. On July 13th and 17th, they released the first batches of profiles for the contestants. The pre-show vote opened on July 19th. On August 2nd, they released concept teasers for all 82 girls. This pre-show vote came to a close on August 7th. We know this is the vote they used to determine the girls' ranks in the very first episode. On August 13th, they filmed the first rank announcement, and on August 14th, they filmed the one-on-one. August 16th is day 4, and Annie films them going to eat. If memory serves, I think this is the cafeteria with the retractable roof that they liked showing off so much. If you remember, they only got 3 days to prepare for the performance, so this was more like day 2 of preparing for the Revenge Battle. August 18th is Revenge Battle Day, which matches with the timeline given. They spend the 15th, 16th, and 17th practicing. This doesn't really matter for determining the timeline, but she also shared pictures with other contestants, and these girls were clearly forming friendships despite being on different teams for the Revenge Battle, and the show didn't even give them a chance to show it. On the 21st was the stage rehearsal, and on the 22nd was the final day of filming. There's no reveal of how they chose which level each girl performed on. I hope you guys were able to keep up because the entire shoot for this first arc took less than 2 weeks. It was more like 9 days, from the 13th to the 22nd of August. On September 6th, they released the profile videos, is probably the best thing to call them. It's the Pink Void video. From August 22nd to September 3rd, they had a non-rank vote for which girl people were anticipating, and Bin won, which is honestly impressive, and I think it was driven by Korean viewers based on the responses to her winner video. But that was just filler for the real vote. The elimination vote opened on September 9th and ran until October 10th. However, because of that previous vote and the fact that the show wouldn't be airing for another 2 months, some voters might have assumed it would be an inconsequential vote like the previous one, or just didn't care enough because they got tired of waiting. Especially when you realize that the performance video for Come With Me Universe was then released on October 8th, nearly a month and a half after it was filmed. Somewhat to their credit, they released shorts versions of their one-on-one, but due to it being shorts, none of the videos really took off, especially not outside of YouTube. It was also just about 30 seconds per contestant and didn't really showcase much. Remember how the vote closed on the 10th? The practice video was released the same day, and they didn't post individual videos until the 13th, 3 days after the vote closed. So really, not very many of the votes were based on more than visuals unless you went out of your way to look up videos of the girls performing. I also want to remind you that the show hasn't even started airing at this point, and the elimination vote closed without the show posting anything that gave viewers a somewhat accurate sense of their talents. I want us all to realize how insane that is. To everyone who complained about people only voted for X because of her nationality/visuals, I want you to remember voters had very little else to go on, as provided by SBS. Okay, then they released some challenge videos, some behind the scenes, and some teasers for the episodes. One of those was literally just about Sowon. I think it says a lot when you place pre-show promotions on the shoulders of a 12-year-old, no matter how much experience she might have. Like, it's literally a 3-minute long teaser just about Sowon. Keep in mind also that this is 2 days before the first episode. They've already completed 2 votes, so they know that, for example, Riel, Vanessa, and Sonu have consistent voters because they made it to the top 8 both times. In case you guys don't remember, Sowon wasn't even in the top 8 in the first 2 votes. You can argue back and forth about them doing this to get more viewers from recognizing her, but that's the point with releasing the profiles, the shorts, all the pre-show promotions really. That's when people are supposed to find out. But clearly she wasn't the biggest draw, so why wouldn't you do a teaser featuring consistent top rankers? Sowon's rank even dropped a little bit between votes, despite supposedly bringing in a strong fan base. My whole point with this is there were other girls that could have pulled in ratings who were already drawing attention to the show, so why didn't they get a highlight teaser? All of this serves to create a narrative for the show. They need Sowon in the show/group for rating/popularity in Korea. There were literally 3 debuted idols and 2 former survival show contestants on the show. We technically still haven't even reached the premiere. We've had 2 votes and we haven't even seen the first episode. The first vote was literally 4 months ago and ended 3 months ago. This first episode was also filmed 3 months ago. And then with 90 minutes per episode and each performance being about 84 seconds according to Any, they could have divided the performances between the first 2 episodes and shown all of them in full and still had about 42 minutes to do or show whatever they wanted. But with 90 minutes in this first episode, about 20 of them going to intros and teasers and showing the first vote ranks, and they only showed 13 performances in part or in full. Since I don't remember how much of each they showed, I'll just assume they showed all of them in full, so of the remaining 70-ish minutes, less than 20 of them were spent on actual performances. Mind you, they only showed both sides in 5 of these one-on-ones. The other 3 we only got to see the winning contestant. There were 33 more one-on-one battles to go. 66 contestants. I'll give you a quick guess as to how many were shown in episode 2. If your guess was less than 10, congratulations! Your prize for being right is disappointment. Seriously. Out of 115 possible minutes they could have shown, they only showed, at best, 29.5 minutes. That's just barely a quarter, assuming they showed the full performances for all 21 of the ones included. 82 girls who all worked for months to prepare, and only a quarter of them got to show it on the show. Then they didn't even have the decency to post the full versions on YouTube, just shorts versions, 30 seconds or so each. Not even the full minute shorts offer. But yeah, no, this show definitely didn't show their hand from the first episode. Out of the final 8, only one of them was not among the 21 performances shown. I'll let you guess which one it was. As SBS themselves say, the one-on-one battle is over 37 minutes into episode 2. That means we spent roughly 107 minutes on the one-on-one. Out of those 107, we'll round up and be nice to them, 30 minutes went to the actual performances. So 77 minutes were spent on filler and introductions, and at least a little bit judges' feedback. Each of these contestants got about 3.5 minutes on average for their introduction and feedback. Anyways, now it's time for the revenge battles. Is it bad to say I barely remember how this went down? We start by splitting the stage in 2, then revealing the concept names, but they don't explain much beyond that before getting the winners out to choose their concept. What they don't fully reveal is that the winners will be choosing the concept, song, and teams for both themselves and their attached challenger. Then on top of that, the show uses them to promote one of their sponsors by having a sequence where they shop for new clothes, then go out to eat together. Does anybody remember relevant storylines from this? All I remember is Jung Ji-won turning off the cameras, Duruduru team leadership being an absolute mess, Ukik's rap storyline, and the way too much time spent on Anshin. Spoiler alert, Anshin was already eliminated at number 42 in votes. Mind you, her storyline was aired almost 2 months after they knew who the eliminated contestants were. Hell, her storyline aired 2 weeks after the level station was filmed. This battle spans across 3 episodes, and in episode 4, they just barely end the segment soon enough to squeeze in about 11 minutes of the contestants returning. Now, according to the finale, this was recorded on October 27th, so about 17 days lapsed between the vote closing and the contestants returning. This is still about 3 weeks before the first episode airs. That same day, they find out they have to do a level test with Ticket to You, and they got 30 minutes to prepare. The show says they were shown the choreography video, but there's no mention of when or how. Also, listen to the girls' reactions. None of them sound particularly confident, but surely at least some would have had they known about this song for any amount of time longer than within a day.
30분 후에 시작할 거고요. 30분. 네. 잠시요, 30분.
Also, Annie didn't mention anything about Ticket to You in her video, but surely she wouldn't have forgotten about seeing/receiving the choreography video. And do we really think they would run the risk of one of the girls leaking it by accident by sending it to them before that day? Obviously, someone with prior dance training who knows the basics will find it easier to pick up than someone who doesn't know the basics. Obviously, the more vocally talented trainees who are actually within the song's range will find it easier to sing. I don't think it's fair to throw them under the bus like this, because had they been given even just a day to prepare, we would have gotten a more accurate picture of their skill level. Like, does anybody agree that Narumi is at a low skill level? Do we really think Beharam is just average? Does Hwang Shiin actually belong in high? A mess. Giving them at least a day to prepare would be the most accurate, because idols are never given just 30 minutes in real life. Didn't AT say they prepared for one of their Immortal Songs performances in like 6 hours? Luna prepared for their performance in less than a day, and both of these are noteworthy because they're extreme cases, not the norm. But these are both trained idols who know how to speed up the process and how their dynamics work the best. Also, they had their choreographers with them. And then, since I know some people missed it or just didn't believe me, the producers picked the teams. The girls don't even find out what song they'll be doing until after the teams are divided. The very next day, they meet the producers and have to tell them what parts they want for the recording, but the parts aren't actually decided until the producers have them try out for them. The producers chose their parts from the moment they were part of the show, after less than a day of preparations. The producers even say, we've decided on the parts, but at least this time they go by defined parts instead of what happens later on with the new song teams and beyond. There, they just completely drop the pretense and redistribute lines any way they want. Anyways, the unicorn ticket and eliminations are a complete joke in this round. They nerfed an entire team by keeping the only 2 contestants with low voting power, and mind you, this vote happens on December 7th to 20th. These episodes air from December 13th to 27th. These girls were eliminated November 26th. You could have spent about a week voting your butt off for Chaewon before realizing you just wasted your votes and possibly money. You could have poured everything into voting for Vanessa Ariel, Aya Natsumi, or Park Yeon, and on the day the vote closes, find out they've already been eliminated for about 3 weeks. And SBS is allowed to get away with it because their voting system has a little disclaimer saying you might be voting for a contestant who's already been eliminated, and if that happens, your votes are just gone. This is part of how they kept their picks on the show, by the way. Make sure only they and already eliminated contestants get proper screen time, give them unicorn tickets if you're unsure and to boost their image, and watch as the voting power of girls like Vanessa gets removed from the competition and redirected to a contestant you want because you don't show them any other option. They nerfed the Southeast Asian contestants in this episode to the point only 2 remained. You can put this into the conspiracy theory bin if you want to, but Dale and Aya were 2 of only 3 Southeast Asian adults on the show, not just left, but overall, and both started the show at opposite ends of the top 10. Sorry, this is around the time I started to really get heated about the show's blatant legal rigging. So after this is the first promotion ceremony, and I don't think very many people liked the way they did this, calling up 2 girls at a time to compare and making Hyunju stand there for 3 rounds while 2 people got eliminated but her counter didn't even move, introducing the candy ticketing out of nowhere and giving Nana 115,000 extra points, effectively ruining the perception of her as someone worth voting for. Everybody was so sure she was safe in going to the final lineup after this because she was so far ahead that her points barely made a dent next elimination. But I'll get into that mess later. Also, maybe they should have given the candy ticketing top 8 a proportional amount of points, or just scrap the candy ticketing. And can I just mention the fact that them eliminating at least 5 strong voters immeasurably skewed the ratings in this and subsequent eliminations. The other half of this is them having the girls create a choreo for the Come With Me dance break to see which 8 get to perform at the SBS Awards. Part of the performance is Come With Me, but the main part of it is dynamic duo Smoke, which was on Street Woman Fighter, so this decision making is at a negative making sense level. Why are there 14-year-olds here? Why are there any minors at all here, let alone the entire team aside from 1 being underage internationally and the whole lineup being underage in Korea? Be better, SBS. Be better. Now we move into the unit station, which is its own messy mess. First of all, they started preparing for this before the elimination. The episode airs on January 3rd, and the second elimination / first promotion ceremony was aired on December 27th, meaning that must have happened sometime between December 21st to December 26th, the time between the vote closing and the episode airing. The level station is filmed on November 26th, so even if you assume maybe 5 days between that and preparing for the unit station, that would mean they prepared for about 19 days before the elimination, at least. So for 19 days, they're preparing for 2 stages without knowing if they'll be eliminated before even getting to go on stage, and knowing that no matter what, the formations and part distribution will have to change. That's so beyond messy. That's into nonsense category. I wouldn't be surprised if some of the girls with little to no lines gave up because they were sure that meant they were on the chopping block for the second elimination. Not the unit station elimination, the first promotion ceremony. Because this timeline makes so much sense. The producers take complete control of the line distribution, and their goal of highlighting their chosen few becomes clear as day. The only one they didn't really touch was the performance team, but even there they had the dance teacher have the final say in who got which part. So then they give the unicorn ticket to their top picks and Narumi, and based on votes from the judges, producers, and the other contestants, they eliminate Kwon Eun-hyung and Yona, the oldest contestant on the show, at only 24. If you guys still don't get how ridiculous that is, that she was the oldest at 24, on Produce 101 Season 1, the oldest contestant was 28. Same thing with Season 2, and the oldest member of 101 was 27, and the youngest members were 17. Produce 48, the oldest contestant was 25, and on X, he was 26. On Girls Planet, she was 26, and on Boys Planet, he was almost 31. Why am I mentioning this? Because so much of the reason why people refuse to acknowledge Yona was because she's too old to be on the show. But she's really not. It's just that the producers let this show skew so extremely young. Yoojin re-debuted in Kepler at 25. Jiyoung debuted in CB1 at 24. Eunbi re-debuted in IZ*ONE at 23. I'm just trying to provide some context for what audiences actually want from survival show groups in terms of age. Anyways, the show has a massive age bias. What's new? In the second to last episode, they decided to screw up the cumulative votes because they weren't expecting Alicia and Jelly's voting power to be so much stronger than all the other girls. But they literally got rid of all the other strong voters except Sonu. What did they think was going to happen? To ensure only one of them moves to the debut lineup prematurely, they raised the threshold for advancing, so Jelly was 0.2% away, and everyone else had basically no chance of their points moving at all past our rank. Then they introduced another hidden ticketing, but this time the producers choose their top 3. Shockingly, the producers' top 3 does not at all reflect their line distributions. No Sowon, no Alicia, no Nana, actually kind of insane. I'm just a little bit hung up on this because it's such a narrative break, but too little, too late. Because of the cumulative ranks, very few of the girls outside of the top 8 in this ranking have a chance of ousting any of them, and the most likely to be ousted is the music producer favorite, Sumin, since this hidden ticketing is what pushed her into the top 8 at rank 8. Anyways, chronic mess aside, the finale introduces straight-to-debut unicorn tickets, and it becomes very clear that these will be used to ensure the company gets the lineup they want, and not so the lineup can be the best it possibly can be. They mess with the rankings of the girls by introducing the unicorn ticket winners, Bang Yuna and Nana first, giving each of them over 400,000 to 500,000 points so they could rank up, leading to their final scores being over 900,000, and technically ranking second and third because they were called up first. Jelly manages 1.7 million votes for a total of over 2.4 million cumulative points, technically making her the number 1 rank in points, but officially number 4. The only real twist in this finale is Sumin doesn't make it and Hyunju becomes the final member, resulting in a 10-year age gap between her and the youngest member Sowon at 22 and 12. If you don't understand how 22 and 12 is extremely different from 101's 27 and 17, then I don't really have the time to explain that to you. In short, the average age in 101 was 21 at debut. The average age in Eunice, oh by the way, the group is called Eunice, is 16.5. 101 had 9 out of 11 members debut as adults. Eunice will spend their entire first year and half with only 1 adult in the lineup, and that's by international standards. Their contract lasts for 2 years and 6 months after debut. If we were counting from the lineup announcement, there would only be about 3 weeks where the lineup has 2 members who are adults according to Korean law. So I just spent way too long recapping a show I already recapped almost in real time. Now we get to move on to the actual fun parts, fixing these things that went wrong. We start with the one-on-one. While cool in theory, the execution left a lot to be desired. Only airing 21 out of 82 performances is an awful ratio, and none of the girls deserve that. After consulting with the form I opened for you guys to submit your thoughts, most people agreed. People liked the concept but hated the execution, and a majority of responses cited the amount of girls who actually got to show their full performance. So I decided to consolidate the performances based on which girls performed the same song. This resulted in 26 solos, 15 duos, 6 trios, and 2 quartets. However, I decided to keep the battle format in a way so each performance gets paired with another performance in its section, but that meant I was missing a duo. So I decided to combine Kim Soojin and Yoon Suin since they had similar solos, and I went with Soojin's BB and beatbox combo over Suin's workaholic and hot combo since I thought both of them would suit BB more. That means 24 solos, 16 duos, 6 trios, and 2 quartets. I then reviewed all the performances either based on what aired on the show or for a majority of them the 30-second clips SBS uploaded on Shorts, which yes is not a very fair assessment, but it's all they gave us. I did also use the judges' win-lose decisions to guide when I was unsure, so the performance solos I paired up were in no particular order. Atlantis Princess and Hello, I decided to keep Heroine and Broken Clock for drama, Panorama and Watada as the survival show group songs, Siren and Roller Coaster, Hurt and Alone and Bubble Pop because they were the last 2, Skyline and Dreams Come True, G and Mr. Chu as our bubblegum pop songs, Snapping and Black as our mature solos, I guess, Pink Venom and Next Level as top group girl crush, Tunnel and Comet as our mentor matchup, What Type of X and Black Mamba, and finally Rover and Not Shy. In duos, we have Pretty Girl and Selfish, mostly because I think matching Jelly and Alicia up early would be beneficial to them and to the ratings. Dessert and Boss because they're both dance heavy, Drive and Secret Garden as kind of magical, BB and Beatbox and Don't Know What to Do, and I don't have a specific reason. Kajina and Gotta Go, coincidentally another Chungha and Sunmi matchup, ASAP and Smiley as another bright bubblegum match, Solo and Flower because Blackpink solos, finally Way to Go and Glass Bead because the vibes match. The trios serve up Knock Knock and Dum Dum, Pop and Psycho as contrast, and then 24 Hours and Loco. Since there's only 2 quartets, Sneakers and Queen Card will obviously have to face off against each other. I also decided that the judges would pick their own top 8 out of these performances for a special benefit. I tried to consider how the judges might pick based on what we saw on the show and who I personally think deserve it. In order, that means the judges' top 8 is Alicia, Narumi, Sonu, Sumin, Gugyeoryeon, Sowon, Yunha, and Yukino. A majority of these I picked because they just deserve it, but Yukino makes the top 8 for drama reasons. She does deserve it, in my opinion, but this final spot was also hard to decide because there were so many good candidates, so I went with drama. There's 2 reasons. One, the show tried setting up a rivalry between her and Nana, and they could still set it up as like group members who already survived one survival show together now face off again, and the stakes are higher without leaning into the mess that was implying Yukino resents Nana. But if Yukino makes the judges lineup and Nana doesn't, when they've already set up that Nana is the more popular one, that is juicy drama. That gives both of them motivation. Nana to make it into the top 8 and Yukino to prove she belongs there. The other piece of drama is Yukino and Gyoron were on Dum Dum, making it the only performance with multiple top 8 members, which can set up all 3 of them as formidable. Yukino and Gyoron can be recognized as people you want on your team, and Jang Soobin, the 3rd member, can have motivation to prove she's not lacking behind them. This is what I mean when I say healthy drama. You want to be given someone or something to root for. Now, even if they only show the battles involving this top 8, they'll have shown 28 girls over just 14 performances. This means we have space for at least 5 more performances to be shown in full, and we'll have the same amount of performances shown as the show did. We'll show the Mentors showdown for 2 layers of intrigue, first being a battle of Sejong and Yoonha's songs, the second being Eunchae being in Yoonha's music video. We would also have to show the Blackpink solos, Riel v Alyssa, ASAP v Smiley, and Psycho v Pop at the very least. By just adding those to our roster, we've shown 18 more girls for a total of 46 across 26 performances. Were it up to me, I would add at least Hyunjo and Jinyoung, Loco, BB Beatbox, and Don't Know What to Do, and Chaewon and Jiyeon, bringing the total to 31 performances and 57 girls shown on the show itself. If each performance is, let's just say, 100 seconds on average, that's a total of 51.6 minutes of performances. That is a majority of 1 episode, but it's less than a third of 2 episodes. Add in about 2 minutes per performance for intros, 40 seconds for feedback, that's another 88 minutes. That still leaves them 40 minutes across both episodes to do whatever they want with. Spend 20 minutes on the intro and even just 5 minutes on the introduction to the next mission, and the other 15 are up for grabs. However, if you make the first 2 episodes 2 hours, which I don't think most viewers would mind, you get an extra hour. Extend the intros to 3 minutes on average, and the first 30 minutes are gone, but you could air about 4 more performances with full intro and review and still have 14 extra minutes. What more if that goes into half showcases instead? By consolidating the performances into groups where possible, we've given 57 girls a chance to be showcased in the episode, which is a 270% increase from the real show. My controversial opinion is if you, as an editor and producer, can't put forth a compelling narrative in 2 minutes or less, consider doing something else. I'm literally working on a minute movie for school as I write this. It's gonna be finished by the time I even get to recording this. But do you guys know how hard feeling even just a minute can be? This is a very possible time distribution. Okay, moving on from this. I felt the show should have done 2 things. First is introduce the road to Prism way earlier, so right about now. And the second is I want to see how the signal song distribution is decided. I want to know why these girls get to be centers or the killing part or whatever. It also shows us the first impression the contestants have of each other. So at the ending section where they introduce their top 8, I want them to say something along the lines of, before starting on the road to Prism, you must first achieve unity. And unity is both a shortened version of universe ticket and obviously unity. Each letter represents a level with the top 8 in U, the next 12 in N, after them is 18 in I, 20 in T, and 24 in lowercase I. And the reason why this won't be a group name is because there's already been a group called Unity from the unit, spelled the same way in Korean. Now they get a chance to move between these initial skill ranks by auditioning for the judges, but I can't be bothered to watch all of their Come With Me solo cam, so we'll stick with the OG tiers. The members of NIT and lowercase I will vote for a center/killing part among the 8 in U. In my opinion, I think it would go to Sumin. But we move on from this and to the first proper mission. I don't have a good name for this, so forgive me, but I think it should be something like Queen's Battle or whatever. This isn't Queendom, so it's a little out of place, but maybe Diamond Battle, Group Battle. I'm sticking with Queen's Battle for now. This is why creative work should be a collaborative effort. In the show, this is the revenge battle, and it's messy. The general consensus was that people wanted to have the same song compared for both teams and to reduce the winner's benefit, but increase the benefits for the teams that win this battle. Ask and you shall receive. I decided to stick pretty close to the original show. It's really obvious they were going for a very girly, innocent, Red Velvet Red concept vibe, so I won't change it too much, but I will define it better and actually make the concepts more distinct. But before getting into that, I figured it would be interesting to give the top 8 the chance to pick their teams first, but they all have to be on different teams, so now they get to fight fight for the team they want. Each of these teams will have 8 members, so each team will have 7 slots open for the other 74 contestants. If you're quick at math, you may have noticed that this doesn't quite add up. Just hold on. Let me cook. The first concept is the cute concept. I decided to keep TT for this concept since I like to increase the chances that the contestants know the song, and I also think TT works better than Tell Me as a showcase. Because of that, Sowon becomes the first member of TT Team 1, the pastel purple team, and Yoonha becomes the first member of Team 2, the teal team. Joining Sowon in Team 1 are Gabi, Nako, Yuri, Isubin, Isuan, Yang Yujin, and Che Yojin. Joining Yoonha in Team 2, we have Wulendan, Cheheren, Hwang Xian, Odaeun, Mila, Kim Chea, and Jessica. I tried to prioritize the original winners into their original team/concept, and I also went based off of the type of performance the girls showed in the one-on-one. When picking who went to which team, I tried to determine if they would be confident in their skills being able to stand out, or if they might prioritize stronger teammates and higher chance of winning. You can decide for yourself which is which. The second concept is the fierce concept, and I decided to keep Duruduru. Team 1, the black team, gets Narumi, while Team 2, the white team, gets Sumin. Joining Narumi are Kim Sujin, Beharam, Niji, Jin Hyunju, Annie, Riel, and Uki. Joining Sumin are Jayla, Nana, Alyssa, Jeon Jin-young, Nachayatorn, Oyuna, and Ijini. The third concept is enchanting, so I went with Oh My Girl's Windy Day. I don't really think any of the original songs fit this concept, but Windy Day I felt had a good chance of being recognized, and it's not just a Christian horse girl anthem. It has consistent dance breaks in the post-chorus, which sets it apart from just cute or innocent concepts. For the pastel green team 1, we have Sonu, while in pastel yellow team 2, we have Gyoryeon. Sonu is joined by Yoon Soo-in, Yona, Jung Ji-won, Ho Seung-bin, Kim So-yeon, Jelly, and Xiaoyu. Gyoryeon is joined by Park Ye-won, An Seung-bi, No Yeon-woo, Kim Hae-mi, Honma Yuriko, Kim So-yul, and Kim Chae-won. I feel like Team 2 could become like a vocal Avengers. The fourth concept we have is refreshing. I really love the idea of pairing up Red Flavor and Dolphin as summer songs, but something about this category had Power Up calling out to me. I'm not even a huge fan of that song, I never put it on myself, but it just suited this category the best to me. The blue team 1 is founded by Alicia, while the red team 2 is headed by Yukino. Alicia is joined by Yu, Itoda Yui, Lee Hoo-ran, Kim Hyojin, Jang Min-ju, Aya Natsumi, and Mei. I think having Alicia already would mean most vocalist hopefuls would avoid this team, but joining Yukino in Team 2 are Kim Soo-bin, Yu Yena, Jang Soo-bin, Lee In-chae, Cho Tae-young, Ju Jia-chi, and Chie Sung-eun. So now I hear you wondering, there's still 18 girls left and no teams available, but rest assured, they will have their chance. Bit cruelly, their chance at redemption is the pure concept, Girls' Generation's Into the New World. It's a make it or break it song. I didn't put too much thought into dividing them, so in the pink team 1 we have Minari, Kim Yuri, Park Ye-yeon, Kwon Ye-jin, Kwon Eun-hyung, Cho Min-so, Izumi, Jung Hui-kyung, and Kwon Chae-won. In the forest green team 2 we have Bae Yeram, Jang Soo-ah, Laura, Vanessa, Kotoko, Pia, Yamaguchi Yuriko, Anshin, and Jeon Ji-in. I would give them at least a week to prepare for this one, with each of the judges visiting one of the concepts for some kind of mid-prep evaluation. I would have Yoonha go to pure, Rian to enchanting, Sejong to refreshing, Hyoyeon to fierce, and Adora to cute. Now it's time for our first elimination, which I determined in a very convoluted fashion. First of all, we're not eliminating 41 girls. Second of all, we're eliminating 42 girls. Third of all, 14 of them will be saved by Unicorn Ticket. How did I determine these ranks? Well, I took their first and second ranks, calculated the average between them, lined the girls up by that, then checked between girls with the same average who gained the most and who lost the most. The top 40 from that were immediately safe, but as it turns out of the original 20 tickets, about 11 of them made it into the top 40 on the show. That means 9 of the Unicorn Tickets would be eliminated, and I had to mess with the ranks a little bit too, because this calculation had the Bae sisters eliminated and Anshin and Jeon Ji-in staying, and I just don't see that as a possibility when viewers have already seen their skills, so I switched the Baes and Ji-in and Anshin's ranks. Out of the original tickets left, Lee In-chae, Jayla, Jang Soo-ah, Kim Soo-jin, Yuri, Kim Soo-bin, Nako, Jeon Jin-young, Niji, and Idota Yui are saved again. But we still have 4 tickets to distribute, so I picked Kim Hae-mi, Ukik, Yukino, and Yu. Yu and Yukino because they were big fan regrets, and Ukik and Hae-mi because I think they had so much more left to show us and would have passed had the timeline not been so weird. In this version, the first fan voted top 8 would be Vanessa, Riel, Lee Sonu, Alicia, Kwon Chae-won, Alyssa, Sowon, and Gabi. This is where we start to really get into imagination territory because I no longer have any performances to base things on for half of these girls. I used their one-on-one and revenge battle and some judge feedback to reorganize them into high, medium, and low categories. I will only justify a few of them. The others you'll just have to take up with God. So in high we have Yuri, Isuben, Yunha, Wulendan, Odaen, Kim Sujin, Beharam, Niji, Jin Hyunju, Sumin, Jeon Jin-young, Sonu, Gyeoryeon, Kim Hae-mi, Alicia, Yu, Ihuran, and Kim Soo-bin. A lot of these girls did not originally make high, but a lot of them also did. The ones I promoted were girls who I think are incredible performers, even though their skills in one category might be worse than some girls who didn't make it here. I decided to prioritize their skills as performers. These are all girls whose fan cams I watched and felt their stage presence never faltered, dance was great, and vocals were generally good. Some standouts might be, for example, Sonu, who had a voice crack in Into the New World, but I decided to prioritize the fact that she didn't let that affect the rest of her performance. Any singer can have a voice crack, but not everyone can recover from it. My medium tier might be the most controversial, but here we go. Sowon, Gabi, Nako, Cheheren, Hwang Shiin, Kim Chea, Narumi, Eni, Jayla, Nana, Alyssa, Oh-yuna, An Seung-bi, Kim Hyojin, Lee Eun-chae, Chae Sung-eun, Kwon Chae-won, and Bae Yeram. I think the most controversial here are probably Sowon and Bae Yeram. For Sowon, as good of a singer as she is, she's not the best performer. If you watch her TT fan cam, she looks incredibly unsure and nervous as soon as the main camera is off her. She's not bad, but she's just not consistent. Similarly for Bae Yeram, if either of the sisters should be in high, it's Haram. Yeram has a lot of natural skills, but they lack refinement. Her voice is powerful, but a bit unstable. She's also someone I've noticed shuts off a little when it's not her part, which is a bit of a common denominator between the girls in this tier. In the low tier, Riel, Ukik, Nachayatorn, Yoon So-eun, Yona, Ho Seung-bin, Kim So-yeon, Jelly, Park Ye-won, Kim So-yul, Idota Yui, Aya Natsumi, Yukino, Minari, Kwon Eun-hyung, Jang Soo-ah, Vanessa, and Kotoko. Most of these girls I just agreed with the initial assessment from the judges, but I had to bump Kotoko down. She's a fine performer, most of these girls are, but her skills are really unrefined. I think the common denominator here is most of these girls could be in medium. In fact, I had a lot of them in medium before realizing I was missing a lot of low slots. But I don't think anyone in the current medium tier could really be in low. That's the line I drew in the sand here. So this mission is the revival mission. The name has two meanings, kinda. The first is the fact that I moved White and Miracle to this mission, so it's a revival of 6 first-gen songs. The second is that it's a chance for the girls to revive themselves in a way. I think when you place people into levels based on their skills and tell them they have to compete within that level, it motivates them to be better. So there's plenty of girls I think will come onto this stage mad as hell and prove the judges' assessment wrong. Interestingly, there's a 50-50 chance the high tier become cocky and don't put in any effort, which is always interesting to contrast against the low tier, which has like a 70% chance of putting in their all and more. We'll start from low tier. I kept As I Told You for low and moved Superstar down as well. I think these performances are a more fair matchup. And As I Told You, we have Minari, Vanessa, Riel, Jang Soo-ah, Park Ye-won, Aya Natsumi, Nachayatorn, Ho Seung-bin, and Kim So-yul. I leaned more towards rappers and dancers for this song since it's not that vocally heavy. In Superstar, we have Kotoko, Ukik, Yoon So-eun, Yona, Kim So-yeon, Jelly, Idota Yui, Yukino, and Kwon Eun-hyung. I think Superstar would probably win this battle because its emotional quality would have the upper hand it deserves. Medium then takes on White and Miracle. I decided to have them as the medium songs because I think they have the best balance of skills to showcase, not too heavily vocal, rap, or dance. In White, we get Nana, Gabi, Narumi, Oh-yuna, An Seung-bi, Kwon Chae-won, Nako, Cheheren, and Kim Hyojin. Then in Miracle, we have Im So-won, Hwang Shiin, Jayla, Eni, Alyssa, Lee Eun-chae, Bae Yeram, Kim Chea, and Chae Sung-eun. Out of this matchup, I think White would win. Now, quick thinkers have already pieced together that the high tiers will be doing Girls on Top and none. Maybe it's just me, but I think it makes sense to have your strongest performers do strong performance songs. Anyways, in Girls on Top, we have Alicia, Sonu, Yunha, Odaen, Beharam, Jeon Jin-young, Gyeoryeon, Ihuran, and Kim Soo-bin. I kind of gathered the more innocent-leaning performers in this one. On the other side, in Nan, we have Yuri, Wulendan, Kim Soo-jin, Neji, Jin Hyunju, Sumin, Kim Hae-mi, Yu, and Lee Soo-bin. In my opinion, I do think Girls on Top would take the win. It is a more impactful performance. However, the winning teams each get 35,000 points as a boost, but the judges can still give 2 members of each team a unicorn ticket. In my opinion, this benefit goes to Alicia and Sonu for Girls on Top, Wulendan and Neji in Nan, Nana and Narumi in White, Soon and Jayla in Miracle, Park Yewon and Aya Natsume in As I Told You, and Kotoko and Jelly in Superstar. That means 6 contestants received a 45,000 point benefit, 21 only received the winners of 35,000, and 6 only received the unicorn ticket 10,000 point benefit. For the second elimination, I had to get a bit creative. I tried to consider which girl might have impressed audiences throughout these missions, the scores in the real show, a multiplier assuming increased viewership, potential for virality, and my overall impression of them in comparison to the other contestants. Only 36 girls survived this elimination. I honestly found it hard to realize so many of the girls were eliminated. 18 of them gone in one fell swoop. But that is the unfortunate reality of survival shows. For the Road to Prism thing, me personally, I think splitting the letter levels by ranks in every elimination and showing like their current ranks based on their prism level makes more sense. So instead of cumulative points increasing their prism rank, each elimination has a PRISM level, and you can advance or drop between them. I'll just use this elimination as an example. 18 girls, ranks 37 to 54, make up the eliminated M level. 10 girls, ranks 27 to 36, make up the near elimination S level. 9 girls, ranks 18 to 26, are the middle I level. Another 9 are then the so close R level, and the final 8 are P level and our current lineup were the show to end here. Next elimination, all of these can change. All of the unicorn ticket recipients are safe, but 11 members of winning teams have been eliminated. Our current P-level top 8 ranks are as follows: Alicia, Jelly, Isonu, Nana, Vanessa, Soon, Vulentan, and Gyoryeon. Now, if we insert picking for the SBS Awards here, I would bump it up to at least 16, if not all remaining girls getting to perform there, but with a highlight on a top 8. I would also not associate them with Smoke, and instead, I need to mess with the timeline a little bit. SBS decided to have their Gaio on the 25th and the Entertainment Awards on the 30th of December, but wouldn't it make more sense having them perform at a show for music? The Entertainment Awards were literally just variety shows. That's not the target audience for a K-pop group. If you ask me, they should have held the Gaio on the 31st or 30th and moved the Entertainment Awards to the 23rd or 24th and have the Universe ticket contestants open the Gaio. Here's how I would do that. Start with a group of 8 doing about 30 seconds of Haiky's Rose Blossom, cuts off and turns into NewJeans' Oh My God. Switch to the next group of 8 doing aespa Spicy and Itzy's Cake. Third group does Super Shy and Queen Card. Then another group does Ives Kitsch and Le Seraphim's Eve Psyche. Mixing the groups around a bit, one does aespa's Drama, another Ives Baddie, another Red Velvet's Chill Kill, and the last Stacy's Teddy Bear. After this, I would have them perform Come With Me Universe as the full 36 remaining contestants. Listen, will there be people complaining about this being the opener of the show? Probably. But out of these groups, IVE, Le Seraphim, NewJeans, ITZY, Idol, Stacy, and aespa would all be in attendance and performing later in the show, and they could cut to the relevant groups reacting to the performance. I even tried cutting the entire thing together, and it's just 9 minutes. Up next is the position battle. In the actual show, this caused some controversy with the inclusion of a visual unit and a blurred line of what each unit was actually focusing on, as well as just god-awful distribution. I asked, but the people were split. Most wanted something to be done, but the votes weren't clear on whether that something was doing 2 vocal and performance units, replacing the visual unit with rap, or something else entirely, mostly changing the songs, so I took it upon myself to just do all of it. While I won't be pitting the performances against each other, since there's only 5, each performance has a unicorn ticket benefit for 2 contestants on the team. The first vocal team will be tasked with Red Velvet's One of These Nights, and is comprised of 7 members. Those being Alicia, Jelly, Soon, Jin Hyunju, Yuri, Kim Hemi, and Chae Haerin. Out of this team, I think the tickets would go to Jelly and Hyunju. I know a lot of people will immediately be up in arms about 2 of the others, so just hear me out. I think Jelly would get the ticket because her lower tone would not only be highlighted in places such as the intro, it would also carry so many harmonies, and I think the judges would recognize that. As for Hyunju, I think this is going to be a moment where she'll finally stand out and show the judges something new. In particular, I believe her emoting skills are among the best in this team, and I also think she would be the leader and the judges would want to recognize her for that. This might be controversial, but I think they wouldn't give it to Alicia because they already know she's a great singer, and I don't think this performance would necessarily showcase anything new from her. And for Soon, I think this is going to be the moment where people realize her lack of emoting skills does negatively impact her performance, no matter how strong her technical skill is. The second vocal team will be handling Mamamoo Paint Me and is also made up of 7 members. Isonu, Vulentan, Yona, Aya Natsumi, Ihuran, Park Yewon, and Oh Daeun. Out of this team, I think the ticket would go to Vulentan and Yewon. Maybe in another lineup, I could see it going to Sonu and Aya, but I think with this song and this lineup, those two will carry the performance. I could easily see them handling the most impactful parts, such as the intro, bridge, first chorus, and this is a song that is kinder to lower vocals. The first performance team will be doing ITZY's Loco, except I think the performance teams should be tasked with making their own choreography. The team has 8 members, those being Gu Gyeoryeon, Haram, Narumi, Jeon Jin-young, Jaela, Annie, Niji, and Yukino. I tried to prioritize girls who were on the original Loco team. Out of this team, I think Narumi and Jaela would take the ticket. Narumi got the original ticket, and I really can't argue with that, and Jaela was my runner-up in the team. I think they're both very consistent performers who know when to shine and when to let others be in the spotlight, but they won't slack off just because the main camera isn't on them. I think that would be recognized in this stage. As for the second team, I went with aespa's Next Level because I want them to make their own choreo.
I'm on the next level.
Next Level has a lot of interesting parts, but the choreo itself definitely isn't going down in history. This team is made up of Vanessa, Nana, Gabi, Yeram, Kotoko, Kwon Chaewon, Oh Yoona, and Bang Yoonha. This team is probably mostly made up of the visual team because I think they would be drawn to Next Level since the original choreo isn't that difficult, and they've probably done the chorus part at some point, so it's a safer option for those with less of a foundation. But due to this, I think Nana and Yeram would take the ticket for this team. Nana got the original ticket, and I don't think it was undeserved. She's a good performer and shows a lot of center qualities. I also think the judges would just enjoy her versatility coming off of White last round. As for Yeram, I think we can all agree on that one, right? She's a great performer and shows a lot of choreographer potential, and I think she would contribute a lot to the choreo, and that would be recognized by the judges. Finally, we have the rap unit. I realized we actually have a few more rapper hopefuls in this version of events, and since it's a 6-member unit, I thought Idol's My Bag would be the perfect choice. It's already tailored to showcase 4 different styles, so all they'd really have to do is extend it a little bit. I also really enjoy that having singers in rap songs can force them to show off their musicality, like Bora on Girls Planet. This team consists of Kim Soo-min, Riel, Ukik, Natsayatorn, and An Seung-bi. I think the tickets here would go to Soomin and Riel. Soomin because it was around this time in the real show they discovered how truly well-rounded she is, and it works for the narrative. Plus, she really is a nice rapper. Riel because she actually wants to be a rapper, and I think this would finally show the judges that she doesn't have low skills, she just hasn't had a chance to show off her true skill set yet, and also improvement. That brings us to the concept battle. I don't have a better name, deal with it. This is going to be only original songs, so we're repurposing Ticket to You, Whatever, Rush Hour, Camera, and Yummy Yum. This is a staple of survival shows, and it means a lot to the contestants to get this first taste of debut when they're so close to the finale. It also gives them a lot more time to learn a completely new song and choreo. Ticket to You, Camera, and Yummy Yum each have 8 slots, while Whatever and Rush Hour have 6 for reasons which will become clear in a second. In Ticket to You, I placed Sowon, Nana, Wulendan, Oh Yoona, Kotoko, Chaehaerin, Yoon Soo-in, and An Seung-bi. Mostly this team is made up of girls who didn't make it this far originally, but also contestants who I thought suited this song more than the others. In Whatever, we have Alicia, Ihuran, Vanessa, Yona, Odan, and Gabi. This time the lineup skews a bit older, but I think there's still a nice balance. Good vocalists, good performers, some underdogs, some favorites. For Rush Hour, we have Yeram, Bang Yoonha, Niji, Haram, Riel, and Gu Gyeoryeon. I allowed this team to skew younger because they want to do Girl Crush, but Yummy Yum just isn't really appropriate. This is also the first time the Bae sisters are on the same team, and I think that should be a big deal. Then in Camera, we have Kwon Chaewon, Jelly Danka, Yuri, Aya Natsumi, Park Ye-won, Kim Hemi, Yukino, and Natsayatorn. I leaned a bit towards underrated vocalists for this one, and in particular, I think Hemi, Yuri, and Aya Natsumi would suit it in unexpected ways now that they have a chance to stand out in the performance. Finally, in Yummy Yum, there's Narumi, Lee Sonu, Jeon Jin-young, Jaela, Kim Soo-min, Jin Hyunju, Annie, and Ukik. I did try my best to keep this 18+, but a few 17-year-olds slipped through. In my head, the choreo no longer includes any twerking because it was completely unnecessary from the start. However, as is tradition, not everybody in these teams will make it to the stage, and we have our 3rd elimination in the middle of preparing. Unfortunately, 11 members will not make it to the final, reducing the contestant pool to 25. Those are Bang Yoonha from Rush Hour, Ihuran from Whatever, Kotoko from Ticket to You, Yukino from Camera, Cheherin from Ticket to You, Natsuyathorn from Camera, Ukik from Yum Yum, Yunsuin from Ticket to You, Oyuna from Ticket to You, Otaen from Whatever, and Ansungbi from Ticket to You. This means all teams will be reorganized into groups of 5, leaving 2 slots open in Ticket to You,
1 slot open in Whatever, Rush Hour complete, Camera overcrowded by 1, and Yummy Yum overcrowded by 2.
I decided to throw in the curveball that the highest rank within the team has to choose who to kick and who to accept. That means Sumin kicks Lee Sonu and Jeon Jin-young. I picked them because I think they're well-rounded enough that they would still do well in either, and I think Sumin would know this.
From Camera Team, Jelly kicks Aya. Strategically, I think that would be her safest move. Then Vu Lin Than picks Aya and Jin Young for Ticket to You, and or Alicia picks Sunu for Whatever.
I believe Jin Young would take the unicorn ticket for Ticket to You, and unfortunately, I think Aya would be eliminated here. Not because I want to see her go, but because I realized someone had to go in this round by judge's choice, so the finale would make sense. Out of this entire team, she's the only one I could see failing to impress the judges, but I personally would be gutted. I think she has so much raw talent that just needs to be properly nurtured. In Whatever, I think it's inevitable that Alicia would get the ticket, especially within this team. However, I unfortunately think Gabi would get the elimination vote. I think this is the point where the show can no longer help her and she needs to get proper training to keep improving. In Rush Hour, I believe Gyeoryeon would get the ticket. I think the performance would really show off her center potential and all-roundedness and deserve recognition. Unfortunately, I do think Yeram would receive the elimination vote for a similar reason as Gabi. As talented and skilled as she is, I think she would have stagnated by now because the show doesn't have the resources she needs. In Camera, I think Hemi would get the ticket. Her head voice was very good even at the beginning of the show, and I think with the support she should have gotten up to this point, she would have improved to the point of probably being the main vocal on this team since it is very head voice reliant. On the other hand, I think Park Ye-won would be eliminated. As much as I like her and her voice, I just think she can't stand out as much when she's not the main vocal, and I don't think this song would particularly cater to her vocal capabilities. And finally, in Yummy Yum, I believe Sumin would receive the ticket. She will have shown off how well-rounded she is throughout the show, and this will just be another chance for her to do that. She is one of the best all-rounders on the show, and I believe her skill would stand out the most on this stage. On the other hand, I unfortunately think this would be the end of the road for Annie. Just in the sense that out of this team, she's the one we know the least about in real life, and I feel more confident saying Jaelan, Narumi, Hyunju, and Sumin would stay. So that brings us to the finale and the top 20. It is tradition in survival shows to perform 2 songs, one emotional song about their journey so far and one impactful song. People who have been keeping track should know these will be Dream of Girls and Dopamine. Obviously, they would perform Come With Me as well, but that would be the top 20 version. In Dream of Girls, we have Alicia, Jelly Danka, Im So-won, Yona, Yuri, Kook Gyeoryeon, Wulendan, Kwon Chae-won, Vanessa, and Kim Hee-mi. There's no benefit for these performances, but I do think it would be nice to give fans a vote for which song should be featured on the debut album, but then still include the other as a CD-only bonus track. That means in Dopamine, we have Nana, Narumi, Jin Hyunju, Baeharam, Lee Sonu, Riel, Niji, Jaela, Kim Soo-min, and Jeon Jin-young. I do think Dream of Girls would win the vote. I'll start counting from 16th place. In 16th, with 119,355 points and no unicorn ticket, is Yona. Following her, in 15th place, shooting up to 124,826 points with no unicorn ticket, is Kwon Chae-won. It's actually really normal for survival shows that someone will get an insane vote boost from the one pick and live vote, and I think that someone would be Chae-won. Then, in 14th place, with no unicorn ticket once again, and 136,548 points, is Narumi. In 13th place, our very first unicorn ticket recipient in the top 16, with 139,524 points, is Jeon Jin-young. In 12th place, gathering 155,874 points, no unicorn ticket boosting her score, is Im So-won. Might be controversial to say, but I truly believe this is how things would play out for her if the show had a larger viewer base and better screen time and line distribution. In 11th place, collecting 158,797 points with no unicorn ticket, is Baeharam. Unfortunately, I don't think enough people would transfer from voting for Yeram to voting for her. In 10th place, so close to the debut slot, with 178,554 points, no unicorn ticket, is probably one of the more controversial things I'm going to say in this video, Nana. In 7th place, I am intentionally skipping 8th and 9th, collecting 189,795 points, who did receive a ticket this time, is Kook Gyeoryeon. In 6th place, one of the show's representative leaders, a great all-rounder, collecting 197,574 points with no unicorn ticket, is Jin Hyunju. In 5th place, someone who has never left the top 8 since the very first episode, no unicorn ticket, and 199,785 points, is Lee Sun-woo, making her debut, finally, in her 4th survival show, as she should have. It's honestly kind of tradition since Produce 101 that a former survival show contestant makes the lineup. IOI Somi, Aizwon Cheon, Kepler Dayon, Classy Sonyu, From S9 Jiwon. I actually made that up in my head, but wow, it's true. I guess Eunice also counts in the sense that Sowon was on Miss Trot. In 4th place, with 221,474 points, as well as a unicorn ticket on her side, is Kim Soo-min. In 3rd place, gathering 234,584 points, with no unicorn ticket, is Woo Len-dan. I genuinely believe she would have made the final lineup had the first elimination vote been held during/after the Battle Week missions. The amount of people I saw hyping her up during the first mission, then the amount of people mourning her loss, to today when she still consistently shows up among trainees people wish had made it to the final lineup, and we barely even got to see anything of her, that's kinda iconic. No doubt in my mind she would have had one of the strongest fan bases the longer the show went on. I also think it would help that she was never really safe in the top 8. She was constantly climbing higher and higher, but her not being a safe top 8 would definitely motivate more people to vote for her. Now it's time for our top 2 candidates. You guys should already know who they are, Jelly and Alicia. Absolutely no doubt in my mind that these two would still gather strong voter bases, but I do think their voting power would be diluted a little bit by having more viewers. Also, you can multiply the points I said for all of the girls by 100 if you want. I just wanted my reference point to be closer to the actual show numbers. The fact that most of the contestants didn't reach these numbers even with cumulative points. I'm also putting a stronger limit on the votes, the way Mnet did for Girls Planet. Only 1 round of votes per account per day. You can get past it by making more accounts for sure, but that's way more effort than just paying for votes. And yes, I know dedicated fan bases will do it anyways. I'm an Orban and an XOL. You don't even want to know how many accounts I've personally made to vote for Luna and EXO. So anyways, the first place in this reimagining of Universe ticket, with 570,245 points, no unicorn ticket, is Alicia. Jelly takes 2nd place with 385,789 points. While I know in real life that Jelly's fans went a bit crazy trying to boost her votes, I don't think those tactics would work as well in this case. Nobody's made it to the final lineup before the finale, points can't be reset because they're already reset every time, and I think the fact that other voting powerhouses like Alicia, Vanessa, Riel, etc. haven't been knocked out already means more people would be inclined towards them. Especially Alicia voters, the grip that 14-year-old has on people. But we can't unpack all of that now. We still haven't revealed the 8th and final member. Our options are, coincidentally but not really, between Vanessa and Riel. 8th place received 189,795 points, while 9th received 187,558. Neither had a unicorn ticket boost. The final member was an underdog throughout, and the people love a good redemption story. The 8th and final member of the reimagined Universe ticket final group that I just realized now does not have a name. We'll just pretend it's Cosmosis or something. Stellanite. I don't know, it's not important. Doesn't matter for this video. The final member of Cosmosis is, deep breath everybody, Riel. I think it would ultimately go to Riel because while I think Vanessa would retain a solid voter base throughout and would definitely show improvement, I think the position battle would be the moment that pushes Riel over her. In general, I think Riel has a much stronger foundation. Her biggest issue is just her expressions and confidence on stage, and I think getting the guidance from the show would push her to improve that. On the other hand, I think Vanessa's voting power would be at its strongest around the 2nd elimination and begin to slow down as the show starts prioritizing other girls and their storylines. So our final top 8 in order is Alicia, Jelly, Woo Len-dan, Kim Soo-min, Lee Sun-woo, Jin Hyunju, Gu Gyeoryeon, and Riel. Average age 18. Name, Cosmosis. Fandom name, Cosmonaut. Concept, I have no idea, but I think Teen Fresh would suit them the most. Like Stacy, Veki Meki vibes, like Girlfront kinda. I've spent way too much time on this.